Reaching the later stages of life often brings a blend of reflection, satisfaction, and sometimes unspoken regret. As we look back on the years, marked by achievements, milestones, and lessons learned, it can feel like the journey has reached its peak. The world often tells us that with age comes a slower pace, a time to rest and reflect rather than to grow or change. But this idea couldn't be further from the truth. Life, regardless of the number of years behind us, is not bound by age or expectations. We possess the power to start fresh, to reinvent ourselves, and to embrace new beginnings, no matter where we are in life. The later years can be a time of profound transformation, if only we dare to believe in the possibility of starting anew. Breaking free from society's expectations. Society has long imposed a fixed framework on how life should unfold, particularly as we age. The idea that by a certain age, you should have everything figured out, and that the possibility for change diminishes, is a concept that needs to be challenged. As we mature, the expectations placed on us often become heavier, whether through our jobs, family responsibilities, or even the weight of past decisions. Yet these pressures are often self-imposed and are a reflection of external voices that may no longer serve us. We've been conditioned to believe that there is a certain right way to live our lives. There is an implicit message in many cultures that after reaching a certain age, the room for innovation and new experiences is reduced, and that resting on the laurels of past accomplishments is enough. However, this view, while comforting to some, can be quite stifling. It creates a box that we confine ourselves to, often out of fear that breaking free will result in failure or disapproval. But what if we could let go of these expectations and open ourselves to the boundless opportunities that still await? The idea of starting over can feel overwhelming because it disrupts the stability we've worked so hard to create. It requires confronting deep-seated fears about time running out, about losing what we've already built, or about stepping into the unknown. But when we shift our perspective and understand that starting anew is not a rejection of the past, but an embrace of the possibility of future fulfillment, we begin to see that the concept of reinvention is not just a privilege. It's a vital part of the human experience. Life is not a straight line. It's a collection of moments, each one pregnant with the possibility of change and growth. And embracing this potential can lead to the most rewarding and meaningful chapters of our lives. The courage to start anew. One of the biggest challenges we face when considering a fresh start is fear. Fear of failure, fear of looking foolish, or simply the fear that it's too late to make a change. But what many people don't realize is that these fears, though valid, are also the very barriers that hold us back from experiencing life to its fullest. Fear tends to paralyze, creating the illusion that it is better to stay in familiar territory than to take the risk of stepping into something new. But courage isn't about the absence of fear. It's about moving forward despite it. Imagine life as a book where every chapter holds its own unique lessons and challenges. Each stage of life is like a page that we can turn, one that holds both the wisdom and mistakes of the past. But there are always blank pages waiting to be filled. Regardless of age, we can continue to shape our story, adding plot twists, discovering new passions, and embarking on unexpected journeys. Even at 70, 80, or 90, there are still blank pages that have not yet been written. And it's these pages that hold the potential for reinvention and renewal. Starting over might not always mean making grand, sweeping changes. Sometimes, it's simply about adopting a new mindset. A shift from, I'm too old for this, to, I still have time to explore. It's about understanding that growth doesn't stop because of age. It's something that continues as long as we are willing to embrace it. The idea of starting over doesn't need to be a drastic transformation. It can be as simple as taking a new class, exploring a new hobby, moving to a new place, or even just adopting a fresh perspective on life. It's a reminder that at any stage, there are new possibilities waiting for us to discover them. The endless cycle of renewal. When we consider the natural world, we see constant cycles of growth and renewal. Just like the seasons, there is a time to bloom, a time to shed, and a time to rest. The seasons of life follow a similar pattern. Even after many years of growth, there is always room for change. Consider a tree that has grown tall and strong, shedding its leaves every autumn only to bloom again in the spring. The tree doesn't stop blossoming simply because it has already done so in the past. It understands that renewal is part of its essence, and so too can we approach life in this way. Understanding that no matter how many years we've lived, we still have the capacity to grow, to shed what no longer serves us, and to bloom anew. This process of continual growth is not about erasing the past, but about embracing it and allowing it to inform our next chapter. It's about shedding the outdated beliefs that hold us back, letting go of old habits that no longer serve us, and making space for new experiences that fill us with joy and purpose. We are not bound by the limits of age or circumstance. We are part of an ongoing process of transformation, much like the tree that remains forever connected to the cycles of nature. Living authentically and letting go. The process of starting anew often involves shedding what no longer serves us, both physically and emotionally. We carry invisible burdens in the form of past mistakes, unspoken regrets, and societal expectations. Over the years, these layers build up, creating an emotional weight that slows us down. But letting go of these burdens is not about forgetting our past. It's about releasing the hold they have on our present and future. It's about making room for the things that truly matter, for the people, passions, and experiences that bring us joy. Take Teresa, for instance. At 70 years old, she had spent much of her life clinging to items and memories, thinking that these things defined her. Her home was filled with souvenirs from vacations, inherited trinkets, and keepsakes from every significant moment in her life. These items had once brought her comfort, but over the years they became a burden. She realized that she was carrying around these objects not because they brought her joy, but because she feared what would happen if she let them go. She felt that releasing them meant losing a part of herself. One day, while chatting with an old friend who had gone through a similar decluttering process, Teresa heard something that changed her perspective. What if you let go? This simple question resonated deeply with Teresa, awakening something in her that had been dormant for years. She began to realize that her worth was not tied to material possessions or the past. It was found in the freedom of living authentically. At first, it was difficult. Each item she let go of brought with it a mix of grief and relief. She mourned the memories, the years spent accumulating these things, but she also felt a profound sense of liberation. As she released each object, she felt lighter, freer, and more connected to her true self. It was as if a weight had been lifted, and with every item that no longer served her, she made room for new experiences and deeper connections. Her home began to feel more spacious, not just in a physical sense, but emotionally as well. The act of letting go of unnecessary items helped Teresa rediscover the joy in the simple things. The quiet mornings with a cup of coffee, the laughter shared with friends, and the beauty of a clean, uncluttered space. She realized that true happiness doesn't reside in accumulating things, but in savoring what genuinely brings peace and contentment. The freedom of living lightly. This process of decluttering was not just physical. It was emotional and mental as well. It was a shift in mindset from holding on to what no longer served her to embracing a life of simplicity and authenticity. By letting go of the past, Teresa made space for the present. She realized that she didn't need to chase anyone's approval, and she no longer needed to measure her worth by external possessions or the weight of societal expectations. As she embraced this new way of living, she found herself waking up each day with a renewed sense of purpose. She had learned that happiness is found in simplicity, in being present in the moment, and in letting go of what no longer brings joy. She had finally given herself permission to live for herself, and in doing so, she found true freedom. This lesson, though simple, is profound. Life is not about accumulating more things, more accolades, or more achievements. It is about creating space for what truly matters, for what brings peace, fulfillment, and joy. By shedding the old and embracing the new, we make room for the richness of life that comes when we live authentically and unapologetically. Letting go is not about loss. It's about creating a life filled with purpose and meaning. The awakening at 69, clarity and purpose. For many, this awakening begins around the age of 69. It's a period of life when you begin to reflect on your journey and, for the first time, truly confront the reality that your days are finite. In this phase of life, there is a profound shift, a newfound clarity that every moment is precious. The truth that time is limited begins to sink in, and with it comes the realization that life, especially in its later stages, is too valuable to waste on anything that doesn't bring us genuine joy, peace, and fulfillment. What happens at this point is an inner shift. We begin asking ourselves the important question: what do I truly want? Up until now, we may have been guided by the expectations and obligations of others, but now, for the first time, we give ourselves permission to consider our own needs and desires. It is an invitation to break free from the prison of social expectations and to live in alignment with our own values. This realization leads us to another important insight. Our presence is a gift. And just as we wouldn't give away a precious gift without considering its worth, neither should we give away our time and energy lightly. This new understanding empowers us to stop saying yes out of habit, fear, or the belief that we're being rude. Instead, we give ourselves permission to be more discerning about where we spend our time, with whom we connect, and what social activities we choose to participate in. The empowering choice to say no. Saying no to social obligations is not about shutting ourselves off from the world, nor is it an excuse to avoid all social contact. It is a conscious decision to be more intentional with our time and energy. It's about choosing the gatherings that uplift us, the people who inspire us, and the environments that bring us peace. In essence, it is about deciding that we are worthy of spending our time in ways that genuinely enrich our lives. The power of saying no lies in its ability to create space. When we say no to events that drain us, we open up space for moments that nourish us. Whether that's spending quiet time with loved ones, pursuing a passion we've long neglected, or simply relaxing in solitude, the choice to say no is an act of self-care. It is a declaration that our time and energy are too precious to be spent in places or with people who don't genuinely value us or bring us joy. In this process, we learn that it's okay to disappoint others. We no longer need to apologize for choosing ourselves. In fact, choosing to honor our own well-being is one of the most self-loving decisions we can make. The shift happens gradually, but when it does, it's liberating. No longer burdened by the weight of unnecessary social obligations, we begin to experience a freedom we didn't even know we were missing. The guilt we once felt for turning down invitations melts away, replaced by a sense of peace and empowerment. Prioritizing what truly matters. As we begin to let go of unnecessary social obligations, we also begin to shift our priorities in all areas of life. We no longer feel compelled to say yes to everything, or to spread ourselves thin, trying to meet the expectations of others. Instead, we focus on what truly matters. We spend our time in places and with people who add value to our lives, people who challenge us, inspire us, and bring out the best in us. Imagine a life where every event is a meaningful experience, every conversation is a rich exchange, and every relationship is genuinely reciprocal. This is the life we start to create as we become more selective with our time. Instead of passively moving through life, we begin to live with intention. We choose to engage fully in the moments that matter most. The beauty of this choice is that it doesn't mean shutting others out. It simply means being more discerning about where we focus our energy. We may still attend social gatherings, but only those that resonate with our true selves. We may still engage in conversations, but only those that feel authentic and fulfilling. This shift brings a depth and richness to our relationships as we move away from superficial connections toward more meaningful bonds. A life of intention and purpose. This newfound freedom is an acknowledgement of our worth. It is a celebration of the life we've lived and a promise to spend our remaining years with intention and purpose. No longer do we feel compelled to conform to the social norms that dictated our past. Instead, we make choices that reflect our true selves, and we live in alignment with what we value most. At this stage in life, we realize that our time is the one resource we cannot replenish. We choose to spend it wisely, surrounding ourselves with people who nourish us and engaging in activities that bring us joy. The result is a life filled with meaning and connection, a life where every moment matters. When we look back, we realize that by letting go of unnecessary obligations, we didn't lose anything. Instead, we gained a life that is more fulfilling, more authentic, and more aligned with our deepest values. The question of letting go. One day, Alfredo asks himself a simple but profound question. Does all this still bring me happiness? As he gazes around his home, he realizes that the things he once treasured no longer carry the same meaning. They've become burdens instead of blessings. With this realization comes a profound shift. Alfredo decides that it's time to let go. Letting go is never easy. It's not just about clearing out old clothes or donating items we no longer need. It's about facing the emotional attachment to the past and releasing what no longer serves us. For Alfredo, each item he lets go of represents a piece of his history, and it's not easy to part with those tangible reminders of who he once was. But with each item he donates, sells, or discards, Alfredo feels a growing sense of lightness. As he clears the clutter from his home, he also clears the clutter from his mind. The emotional weight he once carried begins to lift, and he finds himself feeling more open to the present and the future. His home, once filled with the remnants of a life long past, now feels like a sanctuary, a place of peace and possibility. The quiet joy of rediscovery. Imagine reconnecting with a long-forgotten hobby, something that once brought immense joy but was buried beneath the weight of adult responsibilities, work, or the pressure to always be moving forward. Perhaps there's an instrument sitting in a corner of your home, its strings or keys gathering dust. It once filled the house with music, but now it simply stands there, silent and still. This instrument could be waiting for you to return to it, to breathe life into it once again. Or perhaps you've always dreamed of writing, a novel, a series of short stories, or even a poem, and life has always gotten in the way. It could be that the only thing standing between you and that creative expression is the simple act of picking up a pen or sitting down in front of a screen. There's an untold story inside of you, waiting for the right moment to be written. The joy of rediscovering these small but deeply meaningful activities can infuse your days with a sense of purpose and fulfillment that is both transformative and deeply personal. These moments don't need to be dramatic. A quiet morning with a warm cup of tea, a simple walk through the park, or sitting down to read a book that transports you to another world, these can be moments of deep connection with yourself. They serve as a gentle reminder that there is beauty in simplicity, and that living with intention can transform the most mundane moments into something extraordinary. Cultivating meaningful connections. In our quest for personal growth and fulfillment, it's also crucial to examine the relationships we cultivate. Too often, we allow obligations to overshadow the joy of authentic connection. We attend gatherings because we feel we should, because we are expected to, not because they truly bring us joy. There comes a time in life when we realize that it's okay to say no to gatherings that drain us, to people who don't nurture our well-being, and to activities that no longer align with our true desires. The freedom to choose who we spend our time with is a powerful gift. It's a chance to surround ourselves with those who truly see us, appreciate us for who we are, and bring warmth into our lives. These are the relationships that enrich our lives, that light us up from the inside, and that help us grow. When we embrace this freedom, we can craft a life that is more intentional, vibrant, and truly our own. It's not just about cutting things out. It's about making room for what nourishes us, what gives us joy, and what makes us feel seen and loved. Living with intention. Living intentionally means aligning our actions with our true desires. It's about making choices that honor who we are, rather than who we think we should be. The beauty of living in this way is that it transforms even the smallest moments into precious parts of the journey. A quiet morning, a walk in nature, or a cup of tea shared with a friend becomes more than just an activity. They become sacred moments that help us reconnect with our true selves. This shift in perspective allows us to find meaning in the everyday. A walk through the neighborhood can feel like an adventure, a moment to breathe deeply and appreciate the world around us. We begin to see the beauty in the simplest of things. The rustle of leaves in the wind, the sound of birdsong in the morning, the way sunlight filters through the trees. Life, when lived with intention, becomes more vibrant, more full of possibility, and more meaningful. It's about slowing down and paying attention to what truly fills us with joy. In a world that often values speed and productivity over presence and mindfulness, this shift can feel radical. But the reward is immense. We begin to savor life in a way that is deeply fulfilling. Even in the most ordinary moments, we can experience extraordinary joy. Embracing aging and letting go of perfection. As we move through life, society often imposes a rigid, unrelenting standard of beauty, one that celebrates youth, perfection, and flawlessness. We are told that aging is something to fear, that every wrinkle and gray hair is a sign of decline, and that we must constantly strive to maintain the appearance of youth. The pressure to meet these unrealistic standards can be overwhelming, and many of us spend years chasing an ideal that ultimately leaves us exhausted, unfulfilled, and disconnected from our true selves. However, there comes a point in life, perhaps in our late 60s or early 70s, when we begin to realize that these standards are not only unattainable, but also irrelevant. As we grow older, we start to appreciate that beauty is not about looking young or flawless. It's about embracing the passage of time, accepting the marks and lines that come with living, and finding peace in the body that has carried us through life's ups and downs. The freedom of acceptance. True beauty, we begin to understand, is found in authenticity. It's in the way we carry ourselves, in the kindness of our gaze, and in the stories told by every line on our face. As we age, we learn to let go of the need to hide or erase the changes in our bodies. Each wrinkle becomes a reminder of the laughter shared, the experiences lived, and the lessons learned. Our bodies, with all their imperfections, are a testament to the resilience, strength, and grace that we have cultivated over the years. Acceptance becomes a gift. It's not about resignation, but about embracing the truth of who we are. It's about caring for our bodies in a way that nourishes us, by staying active, eating well, and making time for self-care. But it's also about letting go of the obsession with perfection. We no longer chase an impossible ideal. Instead, we focus on living fully, with purpose and joy. And in doing so, we unlock a deeper, more meaningful form of beauty, one that radiates from within. The liberation of letting go of comparison. Another important realization that often comes with age is the futility of comparison. For much of our lives, we are conditioned to compare ourselves to others, our success, our appearance, our accomplishments. We measure our worth against the achievements of those around us, often forgetting that everyone's journey is unique. This constant comparison takes a toll on our mental and emotional well-being. It robs us of our peace, joy, and sense of self-respect. We may feel as though we are falling behind, or that others are living lives that are more fulfilling or meaningful than our own. But as we age, we come to understand a fundamental truth. Each person's journey is deeply personal. We all face different battles, challenges, and triumphs, and no one else can fully understand the value of our own unique experiences. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, we free ourselves from the constant pressure to measure up. We begin to appreciate our own path, our own victories, and the wisdom we have gained along the way. Instead of focusing on what we haven't achieved, we can celebrate everything we have accomplished, everything that makes us who we are. The power of self-reflection. As we reflect on our lives, we begin to recognize that every choice we made, every risk we took, and every challenge we faced has shaped us into the person we are today. The mistakes, the triumphs, the heartaches, and the joys, these are all part of our unique journey. And when we stop comparing ourselves to others, we start to appreciate the beauty of our own story. Our lives are not meant to be measured against someone else's standards. We are not here to fit into a mold, to live up to someone else's idea of success or beauty. We are here to live authentically, to embrace who we are, and to create a life that is meaningful to us. As you continue on your journey, remember that your story is uniquely yours. It is full of depth, meaning, and beauty, and it is enough. You are enough. So let go of the need to compare. Embrace the beauty of your own path, and live each day with intention, joy, and gratitude.